So the great thing about LinkedIn that's different than all the other social networks out there, the Instagram, the Twitters, Facebooks, et cetera, is LinkedIn is actually content deficient, where most of the users on LinkedIn are passive users. They're scrollers. They're just liking stuff and they're moving by because it's a professional network, and people are starting to become more and more open. But right now, there's an opportunity that if you're the one of the few people out of these 600 million users that are on LinkedIn, if you're one of the small 2%, I think is the number that's thrown out there. And I don't generally believe in stats because you can kind of just make that up, but we'll just say it's 2% of users, right, that are out there being active. You're going to stand out. You're going to stand out because you're just one of the few people that are active. And I would say, I think, and I've seen the power of LinkedIn in so many different ways, that if you use LinkedIn right, you'll never have to apply for a job again. You'll never need your resume again, and you won't have to prove to an employer what you can or can't do because you have proved it already publicly and socially, and you have the social proof to back it up. And you have to be strategic with how you're doing things on LinkedIn. But the one thing about LinkedIn is really similar to everything in cybersecurity is you have to be willing to persevere. Because I was in a group chat the other day actually, and they were talking about somebody's post on LinkedIn, like, oh look, you got to teach them your tricks, AJ, because not getting no engagement, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, that's about the same likes I used to get. I used to get 1 like or 2 likes when I first started posting on LinkedIn. Like, nah, you've always had engagement. I went and pulled a screenshot and showed them, nope. 6 months ago, I had a post with 2 likes on it and 20 views or something. And you got to be willing to go through that. You got to be willing to post something and nobody likes it, but who cares? Whenever you're starting out on LinkedIn, I tell people, don't worry about the results for the first 3 months. Just get used to posting and writing and producing content, because that's a process in itself. As you know, you're a content creator, Ken, so how hard it is to create content. So to do that every day on LinkedIn, it's hard. You got to get those muscles worked out. And you got to learn that process. So I would tell people to ignore the results for the first 3 months. Just focus on the process. But the other thing about LinkedIn that is powerful is it's about you and building your personal brand. So don't look at LinkedIn as a digital version of your resume. Look at it as a live version of who you are, not just your work environment. So what do you care about? What are the things that you post about that are, do you like helping people? Are you a helpful person? Then share tips and educate them. Are you somebody that encourages people? You're somebody that comments every time somebody posts a cert, you're saying congrats. Is that the personality you have? And you can show these things, and you can show the type of person you are on LinkedIn that goes well beyond information on a resume. And if you think about trying to apply for a job and there's a hiring manager there, they have 2 resumes. You guys went to the same school, you guys have the same certs, you have the same amount of years of experience, and both of your resumes were written in the same font. So everything's the same. And they go to your LinkedIn, and one person is extremely active. They post articles about cybersecurity. They comment on other leaders in the cybersecurity space, and they're interacting with them. They post videos about cybersecurity. They've even written a few articles about cybersecurity. And then you go to another profile and there's nothing there. They have an old picture. They have no headline, no background. It just says, I'm a security analyst at X company. Who do you think the hiring manager is going to go with? Who do you think shows that they actually care about this industry and are interested in? It's going to be the one that was active on LinkedIn. So it's another way that you can stand out and show you're different than the other candidate. The other thing that you can do on LinkedIn is something called a value validation project, where you can go out and say, I want to prove to people that even though I don't have AWS experience, I know what I'm talking about. So you go out and say, here's how you enable CloudTrail and AWS. You go out and you do that, you post about it, and you pin that to the top of your profile. Whether or not somebody sees it now, they can, when you're applying for jobs later, they go to your profile and say, wow, this person knows CloudTrail at a deep level. They actually know this really well. They've taught something, they have a video, they have scripts in there, whatever it is that you create. And you can get over that experience hump by just proving it day in and day out that you know what you're talking about. And that doesn't require you to get a job. It just requires you to put in work. So I think for anybody that's trying to use LinkedIn to grow their career or to just do things differently, is to go all in and actually focus on yourself. Focus on what story do you want to tell to others. I recently launched a company, and what I wanted to do with my personal brand back in March, I knew that I was launching this company at some point, and I wanted to make sure I curated an audience around cloud security and compliance. I wanted to make sure people knew that I was the guy to think about when you thought about cloud security and compliance. So I just started writing about that. No one cared back then at the beginning when I first started talking about this, but as you keep doing it repeatedly, consistency shows authority. It's an easy way to show an authority is by being consistent, and it's easy to do that on LinkedIn, in my opinion, as well. I can talk about LinkedIn all day. There's a bunch of tips and tricks to the trade of what to do on there, but the most important thing is to don't worry about the results. Focus on curating an audience around what you care about and what you want to future. If you want to be hired into threat intel, start talking about threat intel. If you want to be hired in cloud security, start talking about cloud security, and use LinkedIn to prove your experience and skipping all these other requirements.